Prizes are an example of a pull mechanism. They pay a lump sum for a solution to a problem. They can be useful when the innovation can be easily copied. For example, we need to come up with there are prizes in math, for example. You're not going to patent that discovery in math, and there's not really a need for an incentive to scale that. The people who want to use that math result can use it. But and they may be useful in other cases as well. That's an extreme case. There are also cases where we know that a specific milestone that needs to be achieved as a step towards an innovation. And in that case, you could consider using milestone contracts to pay firms for achieving the specific milestone. You could also link payment to take-up of results. So if advance market commitments as one type of pull mechanism involve promising in advance to purchase or subsidize the purchase of a large quantity of a new product if it's invented, and if the firm agrees to price at a cost close to its marginal cost to maintain that price so that access is available. I think that approach, the advanced market commitment approach, is useful when we want a specific innovation to be invented and widely adopted, but we don't necessarily know who's best placed to invent it, or even whether it can be invented. Or if you can't easily monitor the use of funds to support it. That approach, I'll also note that if you know for sure that a product meeting specifications is going to be useful, you could potentially just promise to buy the product, and that could be called an advance purchase commitment. If you think you might not have the specifications exactly right, and in many cases it's pretty hard to write a full set of specifications in advance, you could say, first you have to meet these specifications, and then second, some customer has to actually be willing to pay for it, and then we'll add something, we'll subsidize it more at a top-up. The advantage of that approach is that you avoid a situation in which they design something to meet the specifications, but for some reason that you weren't smart enough to think about when you were writing the specifications, it's not actually useful in a practical sense to customers. So it adds on a bit of a market test. And let me note one other category, which is the use of procurement policy. So, for example, as I noted earlier, production of cement creates greenhouse gases, and that accounts for 7% of greenhouse gases. Now, in the U.S., the government purchases almost half of the cement that's produced. The government already has rules about the social price of carbon, and that gets factored into decisions about should a road be built, should a new bridge be built. They think about how much carbon emissions that will generate, and when a benefit-cost analysis is done, that's part of the analysis. But then when it comes to the procurement decision, which contractor should get the contract, that doesn't factor in. And that means that there's no real incentive for contractors to try to use green technology. And that could be a matter of you designing things so less cement is required. That could be a matter of using cement with additives that reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. Or in the extreme case, that could potentially be manufacturing cement not from limestone, but from a different type of rock, which would avoid the greenhouse gas emissions altogether. That's something that, if the government committed that it was going to take into account when it evaluated the bids, the greenhouse gas emissions, that would create an incentive for firms to invest in that research and development.